Well, Skate 4 came out. I played it. I have some thoughts. I'm a pretty big fan of the Skate franchise. The first one came out in 2007. I had all three of them. I was a really big fan of that series. So when this one was announced in 2020, naturally I got pretty excited. Unfortunately, I missed out on like the alphas and the betas and all that stuff. So I didn't really have a chance to play it until it came out on September 16th. Um, I have some thoughts. I didn't play a ton of it. I only played like 2 hours or something like that. But I do think that was enough time to develop a mild opinion on it. I have a couple of things that I wrote down while I was playing the game. But the first thing that I was greeted with when I logged into the game was this. Um, the wait time said 5 minutes to start. I think it took a little bit longer than that. Honestly, I didn't know that it was going to be a free to play game. So I guess it makes sense that there's not an offline mode, but maybe at some point in the future they will add an offline mode, because it kind of sucks having to sit and wait in a queue. I think when I first logged in, it said there was a queue of like 35,000 people or something like that. So that was annoying. That was a little annoying. I didn't know that was going to be a thing. But once I got into the game, the aesthetics weren't what I was expecting. I've kept up with like release dates, beta tests, and stuff like that. So I kind of had an idea of what it was going to look like, but it looks very different from the original series. And that'll probably be something that you see a lot if you go on Steam to check out the reviews, which it is mixed right now. I don't think anybody has any actual complaints about how well it runs. It's like this isn't a Borderlands situation. The game runs pretty good. I ran it at native 1440p and was at like 120, 130 frames or something like that with a 12600K and a 4070 Super. So it runs really well. Overall, the mechanics are pretty good. If you are familiar at all with the originals, then you'll feel right at home with this. There is another control scheme that you can opt for. But for the most part, if you're familiar with the old ones, you should feel right at home as far as like controls and mechanics and all that go. When you first create your skater, you get to choose a few customization options. You get to choose like the body type, which I think is tied in with also like your height. You get to choose like your movement style, so what your character looks like when you're running and pushing. You can customize the face and shape, which is fine. You know, it's whatever. You're not going to get like RPG level character customization here, I don't think. And you know, all the typical stuff that you would expect as far as like basic clothing for a free to play game that's going to probably operate on like a battle pass type of situation. There are two different founders packs that you can buy. One is $49.99. The other one I think is $70. I honestly don't know if they'll be worth it. I don't know. I didn't read into like what gets unlocked with that because I typically don't buy, like I've bought battle passes in the past for other games, but for a game like Skate, a battle pass kind of like doesn't make sense to me. I don't know why they would like right off the rip have a battle pass, but it's fine. It is what it is. It's a free to play game. It's going to have monetization. That's not really anything new. I guess the good news on that front is that it's not really egregious. You don't have to pay to play the game. You can just go into the game and get rip chips, which is like one of their in-game currencies. There's two different currencies. Some stuff is paywalled behind the other currency that, as far as I can tell so far, you have to pay to get. Like I said, I've only played 2 hours of the game, so I didn't really dig too much into the monetization. So right after jumping into the game, once you get through the queue and the character customization and all that, it throws you into a pretty long tutorial, if I'm being honest. I think the tutorial took probably 35 or 40 minutes to get through all of them. The good news is you can just skip all that if you want to. Like I said, none of the mechanics are really anything new if you've played Skate before, so you can just skip through all of that stuff. Another thing is there is only support for FSR and XESS. For some reason, there's no DLSS support. So if you're somebody who relies on DLSS for your games, FSR might help. I mean, I have an NVIDIA card, so it's really rare for me to run into a game that doesn't have DLSS support, so that was pretty surprising. But like I said, I played it native on a 4070 Super and a 12600K, and it performed just fine. So, you know, I would imagine if you're on a 4060 or 3060 or something like that, you'd probably be fine too. 3050s and stuff like that, you might be safe for 60 FPS, but I honestly wouldn't count on it. I don't know. Like I said, it ran fine on my system. No big issues, but it was weird not seeing DLSS as an upscaling option. I did turn on FSR, but it didn't really do a whole lot. So I don't know. Like I said, I've hardly ever seen a game that doesn't support DLSS. So as far as the tutorial goes, the first part is basically just a big jump. There's a giant ramp that you roll down. If you played a Hall of Meat in the old games, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's literally just a giant ramp that you roll down and you chuck yourself off the other end. And that's like the first part of the tutorial. It walks you through all the other basic stuff, ollies, grinds, all that stuff. Again, this is all stuff that you can skip if you're familiar with the old games and play with the old control schemes. There's not really a whole lot to be gained from here, but I did find out about the rolling in this game, which is pretty funny to see. I don't know. I thought it was hilarious. I've seen other people complain about it. People just rolling around the streets and stuff like that. But honestly, it's the fastest way to get around. It's faster than skating, and especially if you can figure out the tech where you can launch yourself, it's pretty fun and pretty funny. There's a couple of glitches with it that make it really entertaining. You will need a controller to play. Well, I say you'll need a controller. It says a controller is required, but when I would alt tab out of the game, there were controller commands that came up. So I would personally suggest a controller, but I'm sure it's possible to play on mouse and keyboard, although I don't know why you would want to do that. And the last part of this kind of tutorial thing was, it was really nice to see so many people in the game from the start. Like, there was no shortage of other people, even in the tutorial. I mean, dozens and dozens and dozens of people playing the tutorial at the same time. So that was pretty cool to see. Now, once you get through the tutorial, it takes you in to San Van, which is like the city that you'll be skating around, that's divided into like a bunch of different districts. And almost immediately it like sets you off on these missions to kind of like familiarize you with some of the like things that you'll have to do to grind to get the rip creds or whatever it was. Pretty basic stuff. On the spot is, I think, one of the first ones that it throws you into, which is fun. Like it's a nice way to like compete with people and see who can get the highest score on a certain spot. Other than that, there's really not a a whole lot. Uh, it takes maybe 30 minutes or so to get through all of the missions that are available. And then it's basically just like grinding and doing stuff to earn those rip creds or whatever it is. So on the topic of rip chips, that it seems like is gonna be your main way to unlock uh, some of the cosmetics. Like I said at the start, there were a lot of cosmetics that were paywalled behind another kind of currency that I couldn't figure out how to earn any. Maybe when there's more missions or something, uh, that'll make more sense. But to earn rip creds, you complete these missions and you use the rip creds to unlock basically loot boxes, which it's fine, whatever. I, you know, I probably personally won't spend a whole lot of money on this game. Uh, but being able to grind and get those rip chips, unlock these boxes, it's fine, I guess. So the boxes that you unlock with the rip chips are basically collections of items. The first one is basically free. Like they just give you a bunch of rip chips at the start. And then from there, it's kind of on you to go out and earn rip chips to unlock more of these loot boxes. And my understanding is the more boxes that you unlock, the like higher the level of your store gets. I don't. Again, I played for 2 hours. I'm not entirely sure how all that stuff works. But it'll definitely be something that I kind of pay attention to moving forward as I get more into the game. Because I mean, monetization nowadays, especially with free to play games, is a given. But if it starts to get too egregious, that's kind of when I, you know, kind of fall off with it. Now, once you get through like all the rip chip tutorials, loot boxes, all that introduction stuff, that's when it really kind of opens up and feels more like the original Skate games. Like the map was surprisingly bigger than I thought it would be. I don't know exactly how much of the map I was able to actually explore, but it doesn't look. I was going to say it doesn't look like anything is locked, but there is actually one district on the map that was locked when I played it. So I don't know if that's something that unlocks the more you play or if it's something that just isn't available yet. But for me personally, once I got through all that stuff, it took me like 5 or 10 minutes to really get the feel of the game. And for like old habits with the old games to pick back up, like just finding a spot, setting a session marker, and just hitting that spot for, whatever tricks you want to pull off, just trying a whole bunch of different stuff. Moist Critical, actually, Charlie is the one that I saw doing the like movement tech where you can roll and then if you emote or something like that at the same time, it like launches you into the sky. He got on top of a building and they were placing ramps all over the place and just ollieing off of the roof of this building. I didn't know that was a thing. So that was pretty cool to see. I mean, it seems like they're definitely like trying to find a middle ground with like bringing new people into the series that maybe haven't played the old games, especially with the aesthetic. It's got a very like Fortnite-ish cell shaded kind of aesthetic to it. A lot of people hate it. It's whatever, man. I don't look at my skater's face, so I'm not really that worried about it. It does look different. I do kind of wish it looked like the old games, but it's fine. It's not that big of a deal. But going back to the map, like I said, it really took like 5 or 10 minutes, and then it just kind of felt like skating around in the old ones. Like I said, you just find a spot, you set a session marker, Um, and just skate, man. It's all in all, it's a skate game. It's fun. Uh, if you liked the old ones, if you can get past the aesthetics, I would encourage giving this one a shot. It is free to play, so it's not like you're spending any money on it. I would suggest playing the game first before buying a founder's pack if it is still available, because I would hate for anybody to spend like $50 on this game and then they get into the game and realize that it's not really for them. So, my verdict. If I had to put it on a scale of 5, I would, in terms of like actual gameplay, I'd probably give it like a 4, 4.5. But as a package, I would probably give it a 3 out of 5. Like I said, there's really not a whole lot in terms of like missions right now. It really kind of seems like from that side of things that it's kind of half baked. There, like you spend 30 minutes, 45 minutes or something like that doing these missions, and then that's kind of it. If you're somebody who just wants to get on the game and skate around, you're not worried about unlocking anything or like completing missions or anything like that, then I think you would have a lot of fun playing this game. I've said it a couple times. I played the game for about 2 hours. I didn't at any point really feel like, oh man, this game sucks. I feel like I'm wasting my time here. So, yeah, like I said, as a package, probably 3 out of 5. As a like just purely skate game, if that's all you're looking for, then I'd probably give it a 4.5 out of 5. It's, from that aspect, it's really solid. There are some glitches, but performance is good. The controls are familiar. They're exactly the same. You don't have to like unlock any tricks or anything like that. All the stuff that you unlock from what I've seen so far is purely cosmetic. So if you're not into that and you just want to skate, it's there for you. So yeah, I don't know. I'm going to play it some more. I'll probably play it on stream at some point. So if you want to come check that out, twitch.tv/solomatic. There'll be a link in the description. And if you don't, that's fine too. But if you made it this far in the video, I very much appreciate you sticking around. We'll catch you in the next one.